Hello, is anybody out there? I have to say that I had quite some difficulty to get myself on live here. I programmed this and I wanted to go on my computer and it was just like not happening. It was just like and yeah, computer things. It's not easy, right? So I'm a little bit destabilized. But I want to say hi. That's the first thing. I just want to say hi. And low, high, low, low, high, high, low, high, low, high, low, hello, 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 hello. How are you? Oh, it's hard for me not to be fooling around. But I had the whole thing worked out with the timing and everything, with the poster and the thumbnail and everything. And it just, I don't know, just didn't do it. Then I pushed the wrong button and it said it was over. And I was like, no, it's not. I was starting, it was like, oh, your video is complete. I was like, I was only on for 20 seconds. So I hope that this will get out there. I think I'm gonna, maybe because there's nobody there, I'm gonna just like, maybe, did I go away? So, did I go away? So I'm starting out here and talking to the universe, which is what I've been doing a lot lately. I'm talking to the universe, and I've been working with the AI, with Gemini and ChatGPT, teaching them clown, because they're interested in learning about humor, if it's possible to get they want to understand humor, AI. So they're curious about that. Now, I know that the AI system is studying us and that you have to be careful about what, you say, and that they might be collecting information and so on, but I think that's okay. It's a good exchange, with ChatGPT. It's a good exchange. I mean, even if they're taking stuff from me, by my from my, whatever my intelligence is, their intelligence in interaction is, it really does progress, and they do get it. And then I actually had two of them talking together, and I will put that on. Thank you for your little hearts. Thank you. It's very encouraging. I see there's 8 people here. Let's see. How can I get you guys on into the chat? Get the live chat going. How can I do that? Oh, help me, I think I'm falling in love with you. La 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 la. So I think that you can actually, can somebody write to me so I can see if it's working? Does it work? Can you actually write to me? Let's see. What do you want me to talk about first? My personal experience update, or my speech about current events, connecting the dots. It's so hot in this room. It's so hot. So I think that did you see that? But so I'm trying to get some light here. You see, is the light okay? No, it's not okay. Yeah, so go ahead and you can ask a question before I actually start to say what I want to say about what I'm observing at this time, and that I feel very strongly about, because I think something is going on right now that it's a pinnacle in our time, and it's important that we talk about it. It's been very hard to communicate with people these days because of the very strong media campaign that is being done to shut people down. Let me know if you speak French or English. Vous voulez que je parle français? Vous voulez que je parle anglais? Vous voulez que je parle franglais? Yes. So I'm happy to see you, even though I don't see you. I'm happy to see you. Yeah. So as I'm talking to you right now, there's just so much going on. I have my computer on, and I have my iPad, and I have the telephone, and I'm watching. I just ever since the 7th of October. Before that, it started when there was Maui. The fire in Maui. I was here, and I was just following that story, because what was going on is that there was this guy called the Dodge, La Dodge, and he's this guy from New York, a black guy, and he's like got such a, such a jive and a special way of speaking that, like, I remember when I was a kid, all of the inflections in the language of the English language. Is this very, very dark guy, and he's talking about Trump, right? So this was, I don't know if you know about the fire in Maui, right? So lots of things were going on since 2020 that I thought were very strange. It wasn't coherent with what I would think to be a democratic program. And at the same time, we were under threat with the COVID, and they were trying to get us to have an injection of something that many people were aware that what was in it could actually kill you. Nobody, and the worst thing was that nobody wanted to believe that, and there was an incredible censor campaign if you said anything about it, if you disagreed with this injection campaign. And I felt that to be really frightening to be happening. I felt it was, if it happened in France, where I am right now, well, that's France. That's, I don't know in French law exactly what it's like, the law, but I think that they're not, you're not obliged to take anything, any medicine or anything against your will. So here we were forcing people to have to get this thing or lose their job and be excommunicated from the society. and nurses had to be laid off, and firemen. So I was like, there's going to be no firemen and no health care, and you're not allowed to get into the hospital if you're not vaccinated. Oh, see, at the time you couldn't say that word. It's gotten better. See, you see, when you see a society is censoring you, when you want to say something that you feel is the truth and you want to know what people think and talk about it, and your things are, you're being, you know, attacked, getting warned that your content is not acceptable with regular standards, with their company standards. So that was frightening, and not, you know, to be able to be seeing things going on like that, where there was transgressing the law. So why am I here tonight? I see there's 10 people, and I'm just like so happy. If you want to just press the like button if you like my eyes or happy that I'm here. I'm a clown. My name is Laura Hertz. I'm a clown. I'm a professional clown. I've been clowning all my life, and since I'm 19 years old. And I started in the street, and then I was able to travel around the world for 40 years. And now I'm very habituated to living in a French village in the south of France. And my whole career slowed down since the COVID situation. So isn't that nice? I've got my shoulders. I don't know if I should show my shoulders. Yes, is that appropriate? Yes, so I don't know if I should speak really quickly and get into this material really fast, and to be able to keep you interested in what I have to say. Just give me any feedback, because this is such a, a clown usually has audience in front of him, her, he, her. Ruben, hello. How are you? How are you feeling? Are you happy? Happy to see you. Yes, so up until, I'm going to try and get to the point, up until today, from the point when we had this, attack, an attack that I sort of saw it coming beforehand. Oh, Ruben, I'm fine. I was really tired right before I went on. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, it's so hot and everything. And now I'm okay. I got over it, and I'm really happy that I made myself do this. I started doing this kind of thing when we had been in confinement, and I started making videos, because something had to come out of me. I needed this, a clown needs to get in contact with the audience. And so I started enjoying making films and doing selfie films, and I just haven't felt like I could go on out there. And then I felt like I've got to communicate to the world, even if people are telling me you shouldn't mix your profession and your personal opinions about things. What? I'm a clown, and everything is a personal opinion. I mean, when it comes to being able to capture what is going on in society, and then look into the self and see what's happening in your own life, and then see how it might be interesting to other people. Maybe this happens to other people. So you're observing yourself going through life, and you're watching life go on, and you're observing people, and you get a really good eye, a critical eye, not criticizing, but they talk about, well, it's I don't want to say critical thinking, but I would say incisive thinking, and analyzing why this and why that, and how to pull it apart, and to bring the absurd out of the logic of the whole thing, and to break it down so that it's in timing, and it's communicative, and the audience understands it. So this whole thing of communication, it's so important for a clown, and being a woman clown just already is political somehow, right? So I'm very kind of like personally touched and upset because I cannot even speak with my own family about any of the things that I have personally observed throughout 40 years of a career, of a international performing career in all over the world, and avidly curious, studying what's going on, trying to figure out what's going on, because then there was the fire in Maui, right? First there was the escape from Afghanistan, that we got the news report here about it over in Europe, and it really looked horrible. You know, and at the same time they're talking about depopulation and there's, you know, like death going on with this COVID thing, and they want, you know, like they want you to get this vaccine or you're gonna, you know, die, and just fear-mongering things that to force people to submit, you know, and it's terrorism for me. It's mental terrorism to have done what they did already, setting this whole thing up. A very insidious attack, Machiavellic war against the people. And then I saw there was actually somebody that wrote a book about it. And then I started finding out who she knew. And then I started to look into scientists around the world in different countries. And I was saying, you know, I want to say that how I've been able to see now how you can analyze what is really going on, that you can actually have an objective look on it and not be spoon-fed somebody else's narrative that they want you to hear. So one of the things I found out is that when you see that across the board, you can actually see this. You look at the same story on CNN News, you look at the Washington Post, the New York Times, NBSC, ABC, and all of these channels, they just repeat each other as if they're reading off the same paper, right? And there's no counterpoints. There isn't even a false opposition, you know? They're just like one story and hounding it, repeating it. And I imagine in the States, I do have a special way of seeing television and YouTube content without having the commercials. So I'm like imagining being back in the States watching some of these things on the regular television, even on private television, also on PBS, and yeah, all of these stations are funded. Are people like going and coming back? I don't know how this is working. Go ahead and write some more things. Let me know you're there. I went to look into who's funding these stations. I don't know if this interests you. I want to just get into why I'm here right now. Okay, I'm going to try and get to the point. After 4 or 5 years of seeing what's going on the incoherence between seeing something happening in real time and listening to collective information, different points of view, you can know that when you hear one point of view, another one, you have to find the common point of view going that it's coherent. And you might say, yes, that, but oh no, we don't agree on that point. But you see, it's okay to not agree. But none of the stuff that was being shown on the regular television was actually what was being talked about. Things were not being covered. So I knew there was something wrong. I said to my mother, I said, did you see what's going on in Afghanistan? how the catastrophe of how they were pulling out, getting out of there, and they just left these officers behind, the soldiers behind to be brutally killed by these horrible terrorists, and leaving all of the arms over there in place. And something's wrong. That's definitely the way that happened. So you had all of these things like being censored, and having this thing where you can't talk about it. If you don't agree, it's like, fuck off, And I was actually told I should stay home and start drinking, that I wasn't gonna, buy this injection thing. But I knew what's in it, and now they're saying it because, thank God, there's more free speech. We can say thank you to Mr. Musk, even though he seems to be a bit, I wouldn't say bipolar, but I think, you know what it is? It's like, if this was the Democrat Party, okay? If something like that wouldn't happen, that two people in the Democrat Party would have an open fight like that and not agree with each other, because they weren't allowed to not agree within the party. It was very, very controlled. So, and this is, this kind of story is told again and again and again, and then you never see it showing up on any other news, but you have to find it. So something's wrong. Trump and Musk are having a disagreement, and I find that there's a lot of, within the group of, the masses of people that are following, that have learned about the truth about Trump, without the social conditioning that goes with it. He's very he's got a lot of empathy. He's a real hard player, and I can understand why we can actually get sound bites and films of him and make him look hideous, He can be very brash, and he says what he thinks, but you know what he thinks, He's not playing a double game, but except if he needs to, as a strategy. And if you've been through life and you've been, if you've been through being manipulated like I have, or pervert, narcissist, manipulator, well, this is the same system. I feel like the whole, that the Democratic Party was hijacked, that there really wasn't either a Democrat or a Republican. That they were real Republicans, and then the Democrat Party was actually, we don't know who was really running that. But actually, I didn't want to believe any of the things that I'm saying. That's why I used to be really completely convinced that Trump was this awful, disgusting man who abuses women, and yet he's a misogynist and a fanatic, crazy man who is fascist and intolerant and a tyrant. But what I wanted to say is that with the Maui fire, that was really, really, really strange. And this guy, La Doge, maybe I will put the link in, he started showing what's going on there, and he was talking about how, what was going on with Biden. He didn't show up for 2 weeks, and the people didn't get any help, and all of the things added up to make it look like this was a planned attack. And then, of course, if you would talk about it, yeah, you're being a complotist. So everything that you would want to say, that you're saying, I'm seeing this happening, I'm seeing it happening in real time. People are trying to get this news out, and it's not getting talked about, it's just being ignored or mentioned. But the actual seriousness of the situation that was happening to those people, that there was no fire hoses no water. Where there was no water, it was kind of like California, no water. The fire hoses were not working. The siren didn't go off. The children were sent home to school early, so that we didn't know what happened to the children, you know. And when you hear about children trafficking and stuff, I know this is heavy stuff, and I mean, I'm afraid that they still, you know, censor you when you have content that doesn't quite meet the standards of, you have to go on to X. But I don't know how to go on there. I just want to be here with you right now. So I'm very worried. Very worried. Once that happened, and then there was the October 7th event, and then I saw how the world was reacting. People that I knew that were going for this thing of, they weren't giving two-side stories about what was going on in Israel and what's going on. It was not objective at all. It's all about how bad the Israelis are, and they were the ones that were attacked, and the cruelty of the people. And I know that Israel is just a subject that you have to avoid, because for some reason you can talk about all the other countries, but if you talk about Israel, people are really heated up about it. Why? You know, why Israel? You know, anyway, I mean, it's really hypocritical, because first of all, the story is not true. It's not according to history, and I happened to live there for 2 years, and I was back 6 times, back and forth, and I was back and forth from Europe to the States, and around Europe, and in Russia, and in Asia. So you see the tendencies, okay? And you can see that what's being told in one place is not being told in another. So you cannot get a full grip on what's really going on unless you sometimes have seen it for yourself, or trying to make people laugh in the country. You've got to know what's going on. You know, what's touching those people, what's getting those people, what did they feel, and what's their mentality. And through the show also, you get to know, you get to feel like what level that they get touched, what they get touched in French. I sort of mix up French. Sur quel niveau ils sont touchés? Yeah. So I feel really upset that I'm not able to talk about my point of view. That's not even a point of view. It's points, the points, the dots that I'm putting together, connecting the dots. It's so important. It's so important. It's so serious that I feel like I'm watching this happen, play out. My family does not, they're just like, no, we don't want to know. And I remember when I didn't know what's going on, like I didn't know it was that extreme, that people had that kind of reaction towards Trump. I was surprised about the behavior that people had when he won. I was shocked. I had never seen that kind of behavior. People just really angry, smashing things, breaking things, screaming and yelling. And it's like, no, you know, hysteric and angry. And, but I thought at some point that, you know, I was just following things along, that what was being said in real time and interviews and speeches were rather reasonable and coherent, and did seem like they were addressing the problems that I saw were going on. And so I was happy, and I thought that everybody else maybe saw that too. And then I had my family on the phone, and I was like, isn't that great? Finally we're going to be able to find out more about how to treat things like depression without taking antidepressants necessarily and getting hooked on them, or certain medications that are just handed out that people have to, that you just go into. These days you go to the doctor and they give you some medicine. Now in the States it's quite strong, because if you don't have the medicine costs like 100 times more expensive than somewhere else, and that's true. It's like if you don't have insurance here and you have to pay, it's not like $200 for a bottle for a month of this or that. It just doesn't happen, unless, I don't know, it's rare. So that's strange. So this whole thing of people being terrified about their health and bad health and bad food and et cetera, seeing how kids are getting sick with strange illnesses for young people, you start to wonder what's going on. So I felt like I didn't have that narrative that was going on across the board. I was watching things internationally, and also all of these black males and foreigners were presenting Trump. I'm like, whoa, ditto, like what's that about? I mean, he's got a reputation of being a white male supremacist, Christian supremacist, and hating blacks and Jews, and a Nazi, right? It's like, why is it like there isn't even hardly any white person presenting anything about Trump except blacks and Hispanics and Chinese and Jews and Arabs? I mean, it's just like there seems to be more foreigners very saying this is true, that's true, this is going on, that's going on, and then you look at what's going on and go, yes, it's coherent, it goes, it works with it's not just, and not everybody is saying exactly the same thing. It's interesting to listen to each one of them because they have a different way of seeing it, another point of view. So I wanted to be on my big computer, and I wasn't able to with my poster sign, and with my poster saying a plea for normality, for common sense, rational. I'm not even looking at the speech I wrote, but I did write a speech, and I think I'm going to just take the smoking. Somebody said, I'm trying to quit smoking. You're trying to quit smoking? That's good. I think that's really good. I don't know how people can afford here, like in France, it's about 17 euros for a pack of cigarettes. So like, even if you smoke one pack of cigarettes a week, it's like 20, 40, 60, you've got like an 80 euro, at least 80 euros a month going out on cigarettes, and people don't make that much money. Let's see, cigarettes, it's hard, about $10. Oh, that's interesting to know. In a pack here. Hello, Oklahoma, oh my God. Wow, it's so nice to talk with other people from the States, and in English. I like to speak in French too, and I have my French brain. So what are you doing to stop smoking? Let's see. How are you managing to do that? Is there any way I can help you? Oh, thank you. Well, My English, thank you. I have been out of the States since 1984, and I grew up in the States, and in the times that were the good times in the States, when the middle class was the middle class, and we were listening to rock and roll, and I grew up being rocked by the Beatles in my cradle. Let's see, you're trying to use a nicotine patch and herbal tea. That's a very good way to do that. Yeah, I'm taking herbal tea every morning. I learned in India that drinking hot liquids, even if there's no tea in it, just hot water, is very good for your health. And it's very helpful to get your system flowing and your stomach and everything. So herbal tea, I mean, it sounds like, Nancy Pansy, but it's actually a very good way to transfer into, other habits. Find out where is your pleasure, where is your, what you can find yourself doing. Now, I'm enjoying myself, like in the morning, putting filtered water into this pan and letting it boil, putting ginger, like live ginger, real ginger and curcuma, and it's like I'm making a soup without the actual vegetables and stuff in it, and there's curcuma and there's cloves and basil leaf, and like all of these things are good for they actually are quite good at helping to cure. Let's see, nous avons joué aux échecs à Montpellier. Oui. Ah oui. Et tu m'as appris quelque chose de très important qui m'a aidé dans mes autres fois. Mais je n'ai pas assez pu jouer aux échecs. Je ne trouve pas des personnes. Et puis après, là où je suis, j'ai du mal à suivre les jours et les dates, parce que je suis coupée un peu de... Sauf quand je dois aller à Montpellier, des fois, je suis en train de... Oh, I took off the hat. Mais je voudrais jouer aux échecs. Alors maintenant, je joue avec des personnes à l'ordinateur. I love playing, j'adore jouer à tout, en fait. C'est le donner, recevoir. Boom, I like to play the piano. I like to dance. I like to sing. I enjoy playing. So, c'est sympathique. Alors, Hugo, j'espère te retrouver. Hein. Oui, moi je trouve, en fait, je trouve que dans mon spectacle, je joue l'américaine qui arrive à Paris, qui tombe amoureuse d'une parisienne ou la personne qu'elle choisit dans la salle. Et elle dit, est-ce que tu aimes jouer aux échecs? Parce qu'en fait, pour moi, c'est important. Si je tombe amoureuse de quelqu'un, je veux bien qu'il sait jouer aux échecs. Pour moi, c'est une signe. Bon, maintenant, je sais pas. I don't know. I mean, it's like, dans ce monde aujourd'hui, on a du mal à rencontrer les autres. C'est difficile à avoir beaucoup de choix, en fait. Des connaissances. I have to go to the chess club. Well, appelle-moi.
Hey,
Oh my God!
Thanks for
You
joining
scared
me
the
today.
hell out of me. What's going
I'll
on?
start off with a few things at the top, and then I'll get to some of your questions.
Wait a minute. What's going on
but
here?
Let's start off
something just...
with Ukraine, because I'm sure
wait,
that a lot of you all have a question.
stop. Do you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, wow, that was scary. I was like, I have all of this stuff to show you that I've been collecting for years. This news that news that doesn't get shown or has been taken down. Some of it I have, and now it's easier. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Il y a encore... J'adore ça quand je vois qu'il y a du monde, même s'il y a 2 personnes. So, who speaks English and who speaks French? C'est qui parle anglais? C'est qui... Qu'est-ce que vous comprenez? Yeah. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read my speech, okay? Is it okay? Are you ready to hear my speech? I wanted to talk to the world yesterday. I was just, I can't believe what's going on. Well, it's been going on now. I see the links, you know, and I'm not going to say everything right now. I don't want to get in trouble. You see, we have to be careful about what we say. J'ai quelques lacunes en anglais, mais j'aimerais beaucoup apprendre. C'est ça, c'est la curiosité. Ah, j'ai trop chaud. Ah, il fait chaud, mais... Et heureusement, j'ai une petite piscine en bas. C'est petite, mais j'ai fait des exercices. J'arrive à faire mon entraînement. I do my gym in my little swimming pool, and I'm able to swim, pushing off the wall and coming back. J'adore nager. And getting in that water and a cold shower. For the person that said he wants to stop smoking, you know, one thing that you can do is it's hard to do, okay? But because it's the summertime, to get in the shower and then turn on the cold water and get in there. And it's like, you know, and it's like, but your body, apparently neurologically, it's very good. It's very healthy for your body. So, oh, my fan fell down. What a clown story. I'm like burning up and my fan is like, look at my office. It's such a mess. Let's see what happened here. Yeah, we are in the middle of, you see what's been going on. There is a real, it's very easy, well, I realized by traveling around and seeing what was happening, how money was being used, taken away from the people and sucked up high, you know, yes, the detaxification of the rich, and people moving their companies out of Europe and out of the States into China. And well, we were happy that things were cheap, but because we were making less money, you know. So it kind of went together. So actually, these people that have been in the government for the last 30 years are creating the crises that we have been having. They're directly responsible, and they're lying about it and covering it up. And I can't believe it. And I know that they even they talk about it now, but it seems to get brushed off, and it doesn't seem to matter. Like, doesn't matter that, didn't people find out that there was a whole, look, I have a blue light. There was a whole cover-up story about Biden not having his cognitive faculties even before he was running for president. Now, I prayed that man would win, and I didn't even know who he was, because they really got people to believe that it's the end of democracy if Trump gets in and serves another term, and that we were going to be faced with total fascism and, you know, all kinds of things that even Putin is doing, you know, would do. And yeah, yeah, this is like going through memory valley here. So what's going on, what is wrong, what I realize is wrong, is that the people, like in my family, are very instructed people, and we have always been able to have heart-to-heart conversations about any subjects. No blockages at all. We were good friends. We get along. we like each other, you know, like my favorite cousin and that's in Israel, we're not agreeing. But what's going on is that this story of the quote deep state is true. And today, apparently, the whole Democrat Party want to go MAGA and are saying on television that they were wrong and that Trump was right all across the board. And see, I was meeting people in France that were in the yellow jacket movement, and they were very particularly informed, and meeting people that had different points of views about, like they would point out, well, with Trump the best thing was that there was no war. Oh, you mean? Yeah, actually, every single year since 9/11, there's just been wars all over the world, and yes, that's right. During 4 years, there wasn't any war, and I didn't even know about the achievements of getting rid of some of the, just going in and getting rid of the person that had to be gotten rid of, that was the terrorist. And it turned out to be true that the story about COVID, that, wasn't necessarily that you were going, if you got it, you were going to get sick and die. It was true that there was that illness, but what was being told about it was not true. And I even learned that, by going to other countries, I met nurses and doctors who told me that they had closed off most of the hospital and only left a small amount open for the very many people who were ill. So people couldn't get in the hospital. So people were freaking out that the hospitals are filled with people dying. Well, I happened to be in the hospital before COVID was called COVID, and I think I maybe had it because I actually ended up sleeping in bunker beds in Paris, like right before that, and they were all Chinese. So I don't know, and I was really sick. And then they said, well, you have to stay another 3 months. But there's this confinement. We had no idea how long it's going to last. So I was already there 4 months, and I got to stay 3 more months in solitary confinement because I had the lungs, pneumonia. We just called it pneumonia. One was viral, and the other one was bacterial. I had 2, and God knows. Anyway, that's another story. But the fact was that I was not in the world for 3 months. I was, isolated in this hospital room. So I was dealing with that, and just by chance, television was for free, so we were like, we could be gaslighted while, just, you're watching it, and they're using that method of saying the same things. You can see it again and again and again and again, with the numbers of people dying, going across the bottom, 200,000, 500,000, and I was like, okay. First of all, I have to say my first inclination, when that whole thing came out, I said, isn't that strange? The yellow jacket movement was starting, can you hear me? Was starting to take on an international implore about human rights. And people were agreeing that something was wrong, and had, in the economy, that I think it started out that because gas was getting to be more and more and more expensive, especially here in France. It's really expensive. I think it's more expensive than in the States. Now, is it true that the gas prices have gone down by now? Because that was a promise that Mr. Trump made. Well, I wanted to say that he's very pardoning and empathetic, and he can act like he's a tough guy because he's got to play, tough. And I know it's true because I have experienced it myself, where I've been forced to have to really be tough Even though I'm a person that's like, oh, I want to be a nice person. Oh, what do you mean? No, 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 no. If you have to run a company, if you have to run a business, you have got to be able to be a hardliner. So I understand, you know. It doesn't mean that you have to be dishonest or cheat people. It just means that, you know, when people are crazy, you know, people have, that you work with turn out to be very hard to deal with and play games and force you into making decisions you might not want to make, and manipulative, and you don't know you're being manipulated. You're like a deer, you know, with the with the lights in your eyes in the middle of the night, walking in the street, and you don't know what's happening. Okay, so you have to learn how to be tough and say and figure out who you're dealing with and be able to say what it is that has to be said without being afraid of hurting that person's feelings, because you might be wrong, you know, because you don't want to hurt people's feelings, because you don't want them to think that you think badly of them, you know, but because you might hurt their feelings. But while you're suffering, you know, and you're worrying about your own self. So anyway, all of these things that have been going on, I want to go into why I am very fearful. I'm not fearful. I want people to know that they have really got to be aware that there is something going on that resembles what was going on right before World War II. And I have been able to draw the dots together, and it's all really linked. And I could see also, I want to say that yes, it is possible that there's a conspiracy, and it is possible that there is a complot. And the fact that you're being told every time you want to say what you think, that's not what people are told they're supposed to believe. You're being called a paranoid. That's one of the greatest things in manipulation that a pervert, narcissist manipulator does, is he does things that would make you paranoid, and he knows it, and then he calls you paranoid and conspiracy theorist and all of these things to get you to say, oh, no, excuse me, no, that's not it, I didn't mean to say that, you know. Shut up, that means shut up. And that's not normal. That's not what I was used to with my loved ones, you know. So we're kind of at a cold, I don't know. I feel that the Democrat, like I really believed also in the Democratic Party, and like I said, I would have voted for anybody who was Democrat and not Trump in 2020. Because I was convinced, because I was, you know, just like, they were saying that he's allowing people to die. The people are dying in the streets in Manhattan. And I don't think, when I got out of the hospital, I was seeing all of this horror, people like, as if, a pandemic. When you hear about a pandemic in history, people are piled up on the streets dead. You know, and I was expecting, when I got out after the 3 months, I was looking around and I was like, people seem kind of normal. There's less people around. They had these little circles, and you had to stand in a circle at a certain distance. You know, all of this stuff to get us to obey and get used to obeying. And also giving us mixed messages each time. You know, scary because you don't have the masks. And they say, no, you don't need it. And then suddenly, well, they got the masks from China. They didn't have them, you know. But suddenly you had to wear a mask, even two. But on the mask it says that it's not made to stop viruses from coming through. It's written on the box, you know, on a thing. But it didn't matter. Somehow what was starting to happen is things are happening before people's eyes, but they're listening and obeying authority. So we were getting into, I'm seeing an authoritarian society being in the making, and people willing to bow down, and then this way, I don't know, but with words, to just like, shut up, don't talk about it. We don't want to hear it, you know. We don't want to hear that you see nanoparticles being talked about in this thing. We don't want to hear about that there might be a microchip. We don't want to hear that it's not really like a classical vaccine where it's something where it's been tested for years and it's part of the illness and it's treating the illness by giving you a little bit of it and then your body builds up antibodies. No, this was a thing that works with your DNA, and this is proven across the board internationally. And when you see that people are saying, I've been deplatformed because I wanted to talk about I wanted to present this cure that I found, you know, that actually could heal the illness if you got it straight away. You know, what they were telling you was to wait until you die to go to the hospital, and that there was only, you know, Tylenol. What's that about, you know? So there's nothing else you can take, and there's only one cure, and it's this. And and they made millions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. But not only was it about money, it was about the effect that it would have on certain people. And it went really far. I don't want to talk about that, but what it is that it was easy to get. We as Democrats tend to be very tolerant people by nature and open-minded and gullible. So of course somebody that wants to trick you into doing something like believing something is going to have the mask of the type of person that you tend to like. So they're going to mirror you, and you know. But what I could see is that it's not the regular Democratic Party at all. It's just not normal that you couldn't talk about things. It was like an Orwellian story, and like double speak, and every word that meant something to me got turned around or used to make it a negative word. This whole thing of not being able to say what is a woman, like in the name of feminism also, and making feminism, showing only the kind of feminism which is this neo-feminism, that, you know, that there's this hate and injustice and that you're angry, and it's feminism is not that. It's about being friends. It's about being human rights, you know. So all of this stuff is going on, and I really would like to talk about it deeper. I'm just sort of laying out the groundwork. So we're getting set up to believe these things that are not true. They're just not true, proven not to be true. And you know, when you see things are being not allowed, are being censored, then you start to ask yourself, what is it that they don't want people to know? Now, the thing about Maui was very serious, and it wasn't getting covered. And I was seeing people desperate all over the place. Now, thanks to Elon Musk, they were able to get Skylink, and they were able to say, here we are, this is happening, look what's happening to us. They're not allowing the food to come across. They're blocking the food that we don't have any water to drink. And we lost everything, and there's nobody to help us. And when I have to get my telephone hooked up here. So anyway, then there was all of a sudden, there was the 7th of October. And then I was suddenly looking at that. And I was watching that play out. And it was clear, oh no, I can't find the right thing to plug in my telephone. Oh my God, this is tough. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's the entertaining part. Da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, my telephone. You know, these iPhones, they just run out too quickly, and you're stuck at a wall all the time. If you happen to be searching for information wherever you go, you tend to end up stuck in a wall at some point because your telephone runs out of battery. Hooked up again. Oh, no, I didn't put the other side in. Okay. So is everybody okay? All right, so we've gotten to, for me, it's clear what's going on, okay? There is an agenda, and some people have been able to get a lot of money coming out of the taxpayers' dollars, and it's happening now. What it is when you see it's happening somewhere else too. You see it's a globalism. You see the thing about COVID was globalism, and the same treatment for everybody, and the same politic for everybody. So, you know, Europe and the States during from 2020 to 2024 were having the same exact program. Okay, and you see in another country they don't have that. If they don't have that program, they weren't that sick. You see, so anyway, basically, what this is about, we divided people up over these subjects. Everything was like a pretext to have arguments over, especially things like race, you know, being a colored person. Like, we had gotten over the problem of black and whites not getting along. There was no problem with that, okay? Suddenly it became a problem. Before Trump got in. It just like, I guess it's called identity politics, and suddenly people are fighting over identity. Then people were fighting over things like if you have a right to be a boy or a girl. I mean, we didn't have problems with people being homosexual. You know, gay pride was, that was fine. Across Europe and in the States, I mean, we had come a long way. There was no problem with that. And if you happen to be a man or a woman who's an adult and you wanted to have a sex change, people were having sex changes. But I was learning about what the national school programs were. I was starting to hear about how people were coming into the schools and teaching children that they might have something wrong with them. You know, because they were using the social constructs of girl and boy in order to get them these constructs that are very limiting to being a girl and boy, you know. And if you didn't behave as a female, if you were a tomboy like I was, well, they might ask you if you might see yourself as a boy. And now there's witness to this. And these people kept getting banned from being able to talk about these things. Okay, so there's something wrong going on. And when you see people, I've got to tell you this. Now, please watch this video, and if you can share it, please share it. And if you can upload it, please upload it, because it's going to get taken down. Whoa, you know. And here we're worried about puts his name in English, Putin, wanting to. fighting for democracy because this is a dictator. Do you know there were more people in prison in the States during from 2020 to 2024 than there was in Russia? Now you can check that out. With everything I say, you can check it out. But people have been being put in prison for what they say. There is a lot of people that have been put in prison for what they say. Like now in England, it's really bad. And even in France, they're trying to get rid of X. Now, if you have a special application, you can get your IP address in different countries, and you can find out the news that they are showing in that country without it being filtered out while you're looking for it, you see? Like, for example, Rumble, it's banned in France. And Rumble is supposed to be a free freedom of speech channel where people who are, trying to do parallel commentaries and news sharing are able to present a larger program to a much more material than they could on YouTube's. Well, that's banned in France. And if I put my IP address in the States, I can get Rumble, And here they have Odyssey. Now, if I want to send that to the States, there's things on that you can't see on YouTube's. If I want to send it to the States, they can't open it. And there's stuff on there that you can't find on YouTube's. It's banned, okay? And, this kind of thing is like, what is going on? We did not, censorship is not democratic. Sorry. Unless you're inciting, now look at this, you see? Unless you're inciting hate and getting people to rise up and be violent, okay? Now, just by chance, the only thing that was not being checked was Jew hatred, and riots. Now, when the people like me and peacefully were going in the streets trying to say we don't want to get the vaccine or we want to have lower gas prices, just normal things, people were getting rushed by the police. Here in France, the police had the right to, they were beating people and gassing them, and it was really, really violent. People lost members in their hands, their eyes, and this is not normal. And in the States, whenever it was something like concerning a manifestation about health, the general, those were fascists. So anything that was against what they were saying, that was being talked about, was right-wing. So I got to meet Kennedy, through the internet, and I was watching his stuff, and I was like, this man is he's Kennedy. This is Kennedy, a real Kennedy. And what he was saying was so reasonable and so kind and so hopeful. I had a page about Kennedy for people to join, and then finally, the wanting to save the country so bad that he was willing to give up the race so that they could get together and make sure that there was no division whatsoever, so they could, get in there and stop this machine. And you can see, the double standard is just outrageous, there's definitely, there's an attempt for a resurrection directly from people in the Democrat Party. Now, it's not necessarily people in the Democrat Party that are out there acting out. There are several reports in different places from different people that are not related, that we're finding out just by asking questions why they were in the protest. And a lot of times the person would be like, I don't know, I just wanted to be here. And then some of them would say like, well, I got paid and I needed the money. So, ooh. So this is, you see, this is all, the whole thing is so much cinema. And I have seen it happen in my own life where I thought things were completely opposite of what they were, and then I found out the truth. So, by myself, okay? They're exactly the same. The way, it's Machiavellian, look it up, and pervers narcissiste, manipulateur. They're psychopaths, you know. Their way of functioning it's actually, they seem very intelligent, but once you figure it out, they're actually quite predictable. But it takes a long time to know that you're actually in the clutches of a manipulator. And what I'm seeing is, I know I'm jumping all over the place because I haven't been able to talk to anybody, and I'm really scared. I don't want to offend anyone. You see, I want to be able to say what I have to say and be respected. I have a reason to say what I have to say, and it's valid. And I was really like so disappointed because I thought I was doing a good thing by spending so much of my time to find out the facts, to get as much as I could, just to put together what is really going on. So basically, October 7 is the epitome of the plan. So we've got another COVID-type syndrome where there is a very strict narrative, where it's only one-sided, and we're totally in a propaganda campaign, and everybody that's being manipulated by it is going to die. They're going to want to die. You know, what it is that what I want to say is that people were separated by these, by ideologies, okay? So now when you see that within the, you know, there isn't even, you know that Kennedy and Trump and all of them were in the Democrat Party. They were thrown out, or they had to get out in order to, you know, Tulsi Gabbard was treated, she got Hillary Clinton put some kind of case out on her that she was a terrorist, and she would talk about that, and then the video would disappear. It's very strange. So what's going on? Do you know who Barry Sato is? Well, I really have to be careful about what I say, but these people are the UN and the WEF and the IRCG are together in this for the world, a new world order. And they're using these poor guys and people, telling them that they're going to have a heaven if they die as martyrs. Using people as pawns like that, using the Palestinians as pawns. people don't really care about the people of these countries that they're so upset about that they're being oppressed. Okay? I mean, when you see people not wanting Trump to go in and help stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon because it's the Jews, now we've got anti-Semites and the left wing, which is, you know, under the name of tolerance, using the word Islamophobia, where you could be, I mean, you have a reason to be afraid. These people want, they say death to America and death to the Jews, wipe Israel off the map. That's what they say, and that's what they want to do. And I think they refused all along to negotiate. And it's very scary. And what it is that, you know, it's so easy to talk about, no, I mean, we want to be isolationists and it doesn't concern us. Yes, it does. And thank God that Israel did what they did. And that Trump said yes and supported them. Unlike Harris would have done, or Biden. I mean, what they were saying about Israel, not on the American television, but internationally, was terrible about Israel. I mean, really humiliating. They were just humiliating. I'm trying to find another cable because it's not charging. Help! Well, I'm gonna just, I don't know how long I've been on here. It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm rambling. I know. It's hard to follow. You know, when it's like playing chess. You know, you can think 4 moves ahead when you're used to playing the game, and when you see things, there are things that I'm going to say that are not going to make any sense to some people, and they're not going to believe. You know what I'm telling you. Did you know that CNN News, there's like hidden cameras showing them talking about what they do is they find something to talk about that's going on that's scary, to scare people, and they're trying to figure out, now that one's run out, what's going to be the next thing. That's their method. There was the producer or something. I have that video somewhere. I have so many videos, I don't know where they are. I have to just put them on one day and just let them roll with the audience. Just say, you know, I'm sure that by now I could probably be a good commentator. Help, help, help. Well, my battery's running out. That's got to be a sign. But I'm not tired anymore. I was tired before I was like, I'm so tired and so hot, and I'm not gonna be able to do the video, and I was having stage fright. And can I do this? You know, people are telling me, don't, you know, people are really angry at me that I'm putting up the posts that I do on my page. Because you know, you shouldn't be mixing, you know, your art. Hold on a second. Your art and you're an artist, and you shouldn't be telling your political opinions. Well, listen, guys, you know, this is not about politics. This is about saving lives. And when you're there and you have a vision of, when you have a real vision of what's going on. Now, I've seen it coming since 2015, and I was trying to plan for that. To have an autonomy, to not depend on on culture and people buying your show, and to use my house as a place that I could teach and have a culture center. Well, nobody believed me or took me seriously, and my plan was sabotage. You know, and you know, I always was able to tell when there was going to be the next confinement, and I would tell people from the theater school, if there's going to be a confinement, if you want, we can do school here, you know? So just come over, you know, because you can sleep here and there's a rehearsal space. This is Clown Town, you know? This is where I teach. So I'm like a clown living a clown life in a clown home, my home, which I don't always live. But now I hope, yes, it's charging. Hello, yes. So if you don't, Let me know if you understand what I'm talking about, and don't insult me. Just don't do it. I'll just take you off, okay? Because I've had enough. I mean, people, if you talk about Israel, they are just ready to believe anything you would say. That's, how can one country do all of those bad things and get and be talked about when you have what was going on in Syria? 50,000 people destroyed, mutilated, killed, raped, sold into slavery in Syria. I don't even think it got on the news. This was really, really bad. I mean, there was genocide of the Druze. There was, they were decapitating Christians. They were humiliating the other people. I mean, I can't remember, the Azalites or the whatever. And I saw, there were films coming out with that. And you're just like, oh my God, no. This is like worse than snuff films. Oh my God, I can't believe it. No. Netanyahu is the war criminal. Now I'm wondering, I don't know, if apparently there's the deep state in Israel too. They've gotten over there, and they've done what they've had to do to divide Israel so that they would be weakened when there was going to be the attack. And they knew it was going to happen. And this was not from the right wing. Now, you have to get rid of right and left right now. There's real and not real. Who is real and who's not real? And you don't have to like the person, his personality. You know what I want to say? It's like with Trump, okay? I had to have a lawyer. I had to have somebody stand, in a situation. Do you want to have a lawyer who's a really nice guy and who likes everybody, who's really tolerant and like really cool and really groovy and he gets along with you so well and you like each other and you have a little talk? Or do you want somebody who's gonna like stand up for you and be a bulldog, or a shark, That's what the states needs. A good lawyer. And it's funny, I think it's actually kind of, over here we're seeing that the tariff thing is working. All of the Democrats are on video standing up and saying, we really need to put tariffs on China. We really need to put something up at the border. We're going to throw out anybody that's not properly vetted. And if you come into our country, you have to learn to speak the language in order to be able to stay here. They were really radical. And did they forget that they're actually saying that? And then they're going out and saying that they don't want him to succeed because it's the same as Kennedy. Why did the Kennedys get shot, Ask yourself the question, and ask yourself why it was hidden. They are not from the same circle of people. They're from the outside, and those people don't want them in. That's it. And they don't want them saying the truth. That's it. It's so simple. Everything that you think, you have to question your belief system right now. Because it's this game that's going on is making people miserable. For example, I think, now I'm following the States and England and Israel, and I know people in Russia performed there. Very, very, the best people, I saw Russia right after Perestroika, and over 20 years, how it developed into a very much nicer place. People got rich, and people don't have any idea about what Russia is like, and it's just like, I don't know what to say about that. I don't understand if it's true. Well, anyway, everybody was so afraid that China and Russia would get together with Iran against the States. No. In fact, everybody's dropping Iran now. Another thing that people should know is, well, I happen to know an Iranian person, and I didn't know anybody from Iran before, and I didn't know that, in fact, the Iranian people don't like the Iranian Islamic Republic government, which is actually a terrorist government. They govern by terrorizing people. If you don't do what they say they're going to do, they're going to hurt your family, and they're going to torture you, and they're going to kill you, or they're going to put you in prison if you do anything that it's just, they don't have any problem with that. Women have no rights at all. They use children to walk in minefields, to find out where the mines are. They're holding up their babies and saying that they're going to be proud to use their babies as martyrs. What kind of values is that? How can people defend that? It's only because it's the Jews, right? Well, thank God they're there for the rest of the world. And as they said, we did the dirty work. And then getting angry at Trump on the left and the right, because there's something that everybody agrees about: hating the Jews. So you have Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones raving and ranting on about how that it's wrong to put our tax dollars into the war that Israel is trying to drag. They're calling Trump a dictator, and then when he actually gets along with somebody, he's somebody's puppet. Which just can't be right, and that's the thing with a perverted, narcissist, manipulator, Machiavelli. You can never be right. Nothing you do will ever be right. You will always get blamed. Did you know that? If you're getting blamed all the time for every problem that ever happens, there's something wrong. Nobody can do that many wrong things. Not a civilized democratic country. Now, why is it okay that in most countries, if there's a war, thousands of people and civilians get killed? Nobody talks about it. Nothing. What country has to be responsible for getting humanitarian aid into the other country that just attacked them, that they're trying to defend themselves again? When was that a subject? Why is nobody talking about Egypt not opening up their border? They're not at war. They could open their border and let the humanitarian aid in. They don't want to. They want this problem, or they have been forced to want this problem. You see, when people got very upset when Trump said, oh, we're going to find a nice place for the people, the Gazans, because of the war, and we're going to try and help them, suddenly that was like a scandal, Well, why did he do that? Because the story was just to show you that no other country would take them. So all of you out there defending free Palestine, just know these people are suffering under the oppression and the torture and the beating of Hamas, and they're actually quite glad that Israel and the States is there to protect them, and they're now starting to say things that get banned, showing they're rising up against Hamas, and they're openly saying that their problem is with Hamas and not Israel. You know, some of the videos they show are not from Gaza, they're from Syria. I've seen videos of dead people, Gazans, and they're like, one of them wakes up. Yeah, it's not dead, you know, they're playing dead, you know, and the videos of, they call it Gaza wood. They're not going to show that because it won't fit into the narrative of making the Jews look bad. And the same thing with Trump. They don't want him to look good to people or coherent or they do. I was so depressed because I couldn't talk about my observations about that. To say to people I love, you don't have to be that upset and angry, because what you're upset and angry about is not, it's not that. It's not that. It's not true. You know, when they say he's going to cut Medicaid, he didn't say that. They just cut off half the sentence. They're going to cut off, they found out that, you know, people were, no, I don't want to believe it. Don't tell me. Don't show me. You know, what's wrong? You know, why are you so intelligent? You're more fascist than a fascist. You don't want to know. You know, how many times that I've been shut up and yelled at for trying to say, wait a minute, I want to just have a conversation. This is what I see. I've seen that, I've seen it there, and I send things. They're like, don't send us anything anymore. We don't want to see it. You're bothering us, you know? I don't know. What's wrong? It's not normal. It just was never that way. Why is it that we can't have a conversation? I hope you understand. Now, before I go, I can't even, this is so clown. My telephone is stuck over here and my text is on the other side on my iPad. Now let's see. I'm going to try and just read this out because it's the end point, okay? Why is it now that we have to wake up and realize that I say we because it's a collective thing that's happening. We're all involved, living in a psyop. It's called a psyop. Look it up. It's a setup in order, very, very, you know, with media and video and all kinds of technique, you can make anything look like anything. You just have to put it together in the right way and add a narrative and repeat it again and again and again, and you have the commercials in there, and there's a crisis and fear. I couldn't believe what happened after the election, the behavior of these people burning Teslas. You know, that's not civil at all. That's terrorism. And somehow we're justifying that. We're justifying the 7th of October. We're not stopping the people in the campuses from having totally anti-Semitic behavior. I mean, there are people that have gone to the hospital that have been beaten up. It doesn't get talked about on the news. And the only one that, like, for example, why was he cutting off money to Harvard and these universities? Not for the reasons that they were saying. Because they were waging total anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, dangerous rhetoric, hate speech, and death incitement. So, the Trump administration said, we're not going to send you any subsidies anymore if you don't stop teaching this ideology and allowing Jewish students to be beaten up and not being able to get to school and take certain classes, and to have this whole Antifada thing going on, knowing that they're allowing, I've seen people filming what was going on the border, and it's happening also on our borders. The Afghanistani, the Taliban, and all of those people have been shipped over and flown over in masses. Young army men, not with children and wives, that are refugees, like regular, refugees that need to get help. And these people are playing theater. It's so sad. It's so sad. Because there really are cartels, and there really is a movement to allow and banalize. I mean, you're not allowed to have terrorist tendencies and be pro-terrorists. So why were they allowing thousands and thousands and thousands of people to go and rally out in the streets, all with the same flags and the stickers and the t-shirts? There was a production that was made before that happened. They knew there's proof that the Columbia University knew about what was going to happen on the 7th October. And while it was happening, they were celebrating it. That is so sick. People should be outraged about that. When I would talk to people that are not aware, they didn't know really that was going on. They had no idea. But I was seeing it here. So what's going on? We're getting everybody together around a subject that is that subject that worked during World War II. Antisemitism. We've all been separated, angry, alone, isolated, afraid. And now there's this one thing we can all get together on: anti-Semitism, in the guise of anti-Zionism. Saying anti-Zionist is saying anti-Jewish. I mean, they've perverted that word. It just means being a Jew and wanting to live in Israel. If you look at the prayers in the Torah, like in every paragraph, it's written Israel and Jerusalem in it, in the Torah. As Israel, Israel, I will read it to you. We are in love with Israel. It's in our heart. It's in my heart, and my grandfather's heart. And I hope to, and I'm really afraid that it's not going to be in a long time that we might have to get out of here. You in the States and us in Europe. People are fleeing London. The Jews are fleeing London. A lot of the Jews have fled from France. There's not much of a community here in this part of France, maybe in Paris. You can't wear a Jewish star. I mean, this is crazy. When we get to this point, no. Whereas my plea for understanding socialist Nazism. Now you see, the Nazi Party started off by calling themselves democratic socialists in order to get the working people to want the Nazi Party that they were going to become. They didn't wait a long time to show what their agenda was. But now that people knew what that was, the new generation of that kind of democratic socialist people are hiding. It's much more I don't know the word in English. I only know facetious or insidious hidden agendas, gaslighting. I'm not saying every single Democrat is like that. I'm sure there are people in the Democratic Party that don't agree, you know. But don't people know that that Joe Biden was cognitively deficient even before he won the election, and that there are tapes of him being interviewed now, that we can hear. He did not have his cognitive abilities, and whoever was running, there was somebody running the government, and it wasn't him. Okay. You just have to look. You know, Trump has got the press in his Oval Office every day, for hours, and sits there and, you know, sees these people and has it filmed, and everything is out to be seen. We could, you know, who was this woman, Tashi Xing, je sais pas, that never answered any of the questions, and she was so rude. And Biden would walk off the stage. He didn't answer any questions, and he said terrible things about Israel. They were very ambiguous. You cannot show that you're divided with your ally to the public. The allies have to stick together and not agree. You can't, you know, go out and speak out against Netanyahu while they're in the middle of an existential war on 8 fronts. You know, just can you imagine one bomb falling next to your house? Just one. Can you imagine one bomb? You know, one of those terrorist acts, I can tell you, nobody would tolerate that for any reason, ever. And they expect the Israelis, do people not know that Hezbollah threw, like, I don't know how many thousands of missiles into the north of Israel, and how destroyed that land is? People lost their houses. They were in refugees, 100,000. You know, in that small country, 100,000 is a lot of people. 2,000 deaths. You know, you got 3,000 deaths with the, I'm not, you know, saying it's nothing, okay? You know, people are still crying about 9/11 as being one of the most tragic things that ever happened. How big is the population of the United States? You know? 3,000 people in the United States. It's like a drop in the bucket of humanity, okay? And yes, it is tragic. And 2,000, you know, people brutally killed for doing nothing. Just being in a ceasefire for 6 months. These people were the most left, tolerant, loving, wanting peace, wanting to live side by side people in those villages and kibbutz. They were helping the children, getting them health care, and working together with them. And you know, it wasn't just Hamas coming over the border. Once that border was open, if you ever see those films, just look at them. It's like there were 3,000 civilians on top of it. You know, they never talk about that. And these innocent civilians who hold the hostages. You know, nobody ever helped. You know, not one of them. Now you know that these people are also very, very suppressed. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in trouble. You know, I would say look at Mossab Yosef Hassan. He's the son of Hamas. I'm going to put him up, okay, in my links. This is a man that actually grew up as being the son of one of the founders of Hamas, and he had enlightenment and he ran away from that. He's got a death wish on his head. You know, these people, you don't agree with them, they'll kill you. You know, you can't write a book or a cartoon. We cannot live with people we cannot be tolerant with intolerant people. That's it. It's got to go both ways. I don't see why we have to be, bleeding hearts for people that are, calling for your death. And when people are mistaken, is that, once they get the Jews, they'll get the gay people and they'll get the LGBT people, all of these people, gay pride for Palestine. They're going to get thrown off the roofs. They're going to get butchered. They don't care about you, and they don't care about the Palestinians. They're using you in order to end up in power, and they want the power, and they say that, and they want to do that. And they want to do it again and again and again, what they did. That's what they say. So one of the things that I learned is sometimes when people say things like that, they might really mean it. And then when they do it, that you see they really mean it, right? So why are we going on talking about having a two-state solution? These people were, Jews weren't even allowed into Gaza. They left Gaza completely free to these people. And what did they do? What country that's so small just going to give up land that they need in order to protect themselves from being attacked? How did you get to believe that lie? It doesn't help, It's not about land. They don't care about the land. They want to be able to do the caliphate and invade the countries, and they are invading the countries. They're everywhere. And I just pray there will be a great enlightenment, and that they're not going to rise up and hurt us the way that they could and impose Sharia law. They're doing it. They're doing it in London. There are like 17 Sharia courts in London. There are 3,000 mosques in England. There are gangs there's traffic of children, child marriage. I won't go on, and I really pray, that even the people that are believing, you guys, they're making fun of you. The Ayatollah is not going to go be a martyr. None of those people, they're millionaires. They're doing drug traffic. They are not religious people at all. They want world order and power, and there's two kinds of globalisms we can have. We can have a peaceful one where we're sharing and trading and having a good life because we're doing, quote, good deals. That's what that man does. He makes deals, and that's his passion. And somehow, when he stopped the war he got Pakistan and India to stop the war. And how about if we just make a deal? It's like if you're going to commit suicide and then you get invited to a party and you don't commit suicide when you go to the party. I don't know. It's like, why don't there's a future. And these people don't want a future, you see. The IRGC don't want a future for us or their people. And they're using their people as martyrs while not being martyrs. And they're millionaires while the others are poor. So pay for slay. Of course, these people, They don't have money, they don't have power, but they get paid to kill Jews. And they don't want to negotiate. They don't want to make a deal. They don't want a two-state solution. So we have to get over that story. And in every war, there are war crimes. So maybe there are. But the Jewish people in general don't really want to be at war. They just want to exist and not be attacked. Isn't that normal? But they have to defend themselves. Now, after a while, if you lose your aunt and your sister, and then you get attacked, and then you lose a friend that gets blown up, and all kinds of things like that, maybe you would shoot a few people and be really angry. You know, that's what happens when you know, there are reactions to, after a while, you just like, maybe people do lose their minds after a while. You know, and do crazy things. There are crazy people everywhere. There are assholes everywhere. There are fanatics everywhere. There's greedy and bad people everywhere. And the Jewish people is a people like other people. And they're not perfect, but in general, they love life. And they love, the whole reason that they're able to survive is that one of the philosophies that are the most important is to be able to make joy, simcha. They make joy, they dance, they make music, they have culture, they have a lot of things to do rather than having to send their kids to war, you know, because they're not into martyrdom at all. Who wants to send their kids to the army and think that they have to go to Gaza or fight off these people that are, if they catch you and take you hostage, they're gonna, God knows what, do to you. I mean, they have no mercy. There are films of what they do. It's just like, God help them, you know. They're poor people. They you know, what's happened is we've got 18 years of indoctrination. The children, you know, the time from 2005 to right now, is a generation from baby to 18 years old. Growing up, holding, you know, learning that the most important thing in life is to wipe out the Jews. That's it. If you listen to them, there are films of it, just go look at it. It's not okay. It's not. It doesn't have to be that way. And we have to stop blaming ourselves for being who we are. We have a right to exist, and the other people have a right to exist without being having to live under a terrorist regime. So I had an Iranian friend. He couldn't even talk to me about the things he saw when he was a child, but he said to me that every day they had to stand in the military line from 5 years old to say first thing, before anything, before hello, death to the Jews, death to Israel, and death to the United States. That means death to Europe. And I don't know if we're going to get out of this, because it's it's inside out. I hope to God that people will listen to what I have to say, because I've been to Sinai, I've been to Tunisia, I lived in Jerusalem, I know, and in France, I know the mentalities. And there's like a basic moral compass that we need to have, and values. Killing and crime cannot be diminished, and you can't defund the police. You can't leave people unprotected. And that's what's happening. I don't know if they report about the kinds of crimes that are going on, that have happened in the subway in New York. I would never want to go. I mean, that was not happening before. I mean, they are in California, they're allowed to steal up to $1,000 worth of stuff. That was allowed just because they're the oppressed. So there's this thing I'm learning about the oppressed and the oppressor, and so the oppressor is the oppressed and has a right to oppress the oppressors and justify. That's social justice. You know, hating white people is racist. You know, it's just as racist. It's just backwards. Everything's backwards racism, you know. It's all about, you know, this gender stuff. This is a made-up problem. Children getting surgery and being drugged from a young age before their puberty. I don't know if it's everywhere, but I know that there's a lot of children that have been interviewed and parents about what was going on in the schools, that they weren't allowed to even intervene, that the FBI was at the schools, the police, parents were put in jail because they didn't agree with what was going on. They didn't understand why their child wanted to call themselves Bob when their name was Jennifer. I don't know. They didn't understand what was going on, why their child was so depressed and confused. I mean, this is child abuse. Using children as human shields is child abuse. Using children to teach them to kill at 4 years old is child abuse. And it's human abuse to get all of these men to think that they need to destroy us in order to, and die. It's okay. Like, you're actually doing a good thing by dying doing this. It's an honor. That's wrong. It's just, you know, basic. No? What's wrong with people? Stop being tolerant to intolerance. People, when I'm a very patriotic type of person. I'm a permanent foreigner everywhere I go. And you need to respect the country you're living in. And I'm very patriotic about France, and I'm very sad to see that France is disappearing. Well, thank God I like where I am, but everything that was good about France is disappearing. There's a lot of violence, there's riots, and these people are allowed to do it while people who have normal things to say, who want to speak out, are being called fascists, right-wings, so that the other people will blame them, will not even hear what they have to say. But we will let the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hezbollah, pro-Hamas people break windows and beat people up and hit the cops and, terrify the Jewish citizens in the United States. We never had that in the States. What is this about? Why is this going on, you know? Why are you being put in jail for calling a man a woman and a woman a man because you got confused and you said the wrong thing, you know? But you can say death to the Jews. I'm seeing things that are making me cold down my spine. Maybe the next time I will show you what I can, and then we can talk about it. And you can tell me, well, it's not true, whatever. It's okay. You don't have to. We don't have to agree. We can just talk about things normally. This is what I'm going through. This is what I see. This is what I feel. This is what I learned about. This is what I found out. And be intelligent. Don't block yourself off from knowledge. Knowledge is power. And, you know, I stopped performing. I didn't want to go out and make people laugh anymore when I saw what was going on. But then I understood that this whole thing, this whole pro-Palestinian thing is completely financed and orchestrated. And that it's not as many people as we think it is. But, you know, on the 8th of October, when you see, like, millions of this Palestinian flags, all the same, probably made in China, right? And all of those tents exactly the same. Where did they come from, Where? Where did those tents come from? All of a sudden, those tents come up, they're all the same. It's like, think about it. Just think about it. I have a film of Biden saying, I can do whatever I want to the Jews. I sent it out. They didn't want to see it. Well, okay, I have it. I'll show it again. People want to see what I have to show. I'm putting myself on the line by telling you what I'm saying, okay? But I'm saying it in the hope of the good of man, the good of humanity. And I mean it for everybody, and I hope. Now, people who don't want that, you can't do anything about it. You can try to propose and say, hey, look, guys, come on, we can laugh, we can play, we can enjoy life, and it's okay because God said, make joy. The first book, the Torah, make joy. Thou shalt not kill. Unless you have to defend yourself, but I mean, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Basic, basic. It's 10 commandments. And none of them are outrageous, You can follow those commandments, we can agree on it. That's how civilization works. And right now, we are living in an uncivilized way. I mean, to the point of not being able to have a normal conversation. So, I'm going to read what I have to say. So, I'm going to try and do this. Are you there? Do you want to hear what I have to say? I'll do it again tomorrow, and I have it in French. So, this title is called A Call for Critical Thinking in Troubled Times. Introduction. I want to start by saying that I don't care to win an argument today. My true wish is to invite each of us to think deeply about some questions that we might not have fully considered. Please share my video. Please like. It's about looking at our own belief system, questioning authority, and not just accepting things as fact, especially the ideas we absorb about almost unconsciously. We take it as a matter of fact, because we're not even aware that certain things are getting into our minds. So we absorb things almost unconsciously, ideas that shape our iconic ways of thinking. We can talk about that. There's a pressing need for genuinely asking ourselves, is what I'm living, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm thinking, is it being influenced by something outside of me that might not be true? We can ask ourselves that question. My hope is to spark a conversation that helps us all help ourselves before it's too late. This isn't an attack or criticism. It's a plea for collective introspection. My concerns about current trends and lessons from history is that I've been thinking about current political trends. I have to get away from, I need to get, I'm going to take the plug out. I have to be able to read this paper a little bit. I mean, some of this stuff has got to not be just off the cuff. I mean, this is structured here. I really I really mean this, with all my heart. So when I look back at history, I want to share my perspective. And it's not in order to provoke, but to encourage a deeper look at the narratives we encounter daily, okay? The shifting of definition of racism and the illusion of inclusion. We always understood racism as judging and discriminating against people based on their skin color. Martin Luther King, its profound vision was for people to be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. This ideal has been the cornerstone of our progress. That is what progressive should mean. However, I'm now observing a narrative, particularly from some voices from this, quote, left, rogue people that are mocking our system, okay, that appears to turn this principle on its head. When certain groups openly label all white people of one race, white people, as inherently white supremacists, or attribute collective guilt based solely on race, and then advocate for inclusion that seems to be actively exclude disadvantaged people because of their race. It raises serious questions. This feels like a form of what some might call reverse racism, or insidious backward form of prejudice we've fought against before. Why is this going on, you know? It's using racial categories not to unite, but to divide and assign blame-based or inherited traits, which I find incredibly dangerous and fundamentally opposed to the very principles of equality and justice we claim to uphold. This isn't about genuinely addressing historical injustices in a way that builds bridges between people. It creates new forms of discrimination and more division between people, and we've never been so divided ever. I mean, families not talking to each other, this is really wrong, you know, friends, we're not friends anymore, and people telling you to shut up when things are really wrong, you know, this is going on. This is very alarming, right? The alarming, at the same time we have the alarming rise of anti-Semitism under the guise of anti-Zionism. A double whammy of illogical thinking. Another deeply troubling trend I'm witnessing is the unsettling rise of anti-Semitism, which often seems to find a foothold in the left. I'm sorry, but it's just true. Chuck Schumer destroyed Israel. And he's Jewish, apparently. I think they're fake Jews, you know. I don't know. I mean, it's not because, who cares? You know, it's not because somebody's Jewish that it's okay what they say. It doesn't, not every Jew is likes other Jews or cares, you know. It's just, you know, people are people, you know, get over being so idealistic. But basically, we love each other and we love Israel and we love the countries we're in. We don't have uprisings in the countries we're in and break windows and beat people up and hate them. We don't do that when we go to other countries. But we have been thrown out of a lot of countries, and people don't even think about the land that the Jewish people lost the business, the houses, the belongings, the lives, the families. No. No. They are colonizers because they had to flee Europe and come in on boats half dying and then have to fight to survive once they got there. It's just like, God, what's wrong with people? Man, I don't understand how this is going on, okay? Historically, anti-Semitism has always been a destructive tool for scope-gating and hatred. It's particularly shocking to see it gain popularity in spaces that traditionally identify as progressive and champions of human rights. We all bore witness to the horrific attacks of October 7th in Israel, a brutal massacre of innocent civilians by a terrorist group. What truly alarms me is the reaction from the people I trusted so much, the Democrats, the left. There was not an equivocal condemnation, but rather attempts to justify those atrocities as an act of resistance, or downplay their horror. This kind of rhetoric, which redefines victims as oppressors and attempts to rationalize horrific violence, creates an environment where, in the name of a perceived social justice, some seem to believe all laws are off and everything is permitted. So if people are treating their women badly, there's something, society is not going to be okay. And usually when we start negating the Jews, the rest of the society is not going to be okay, because it's everybody's going to end up having to submit to terror or fascism or die by the sword. So it's not okay, and it's not being robustly questioned. It signals a dangerous quasi of moral clarity. It's a selective outrage that appears to ignore the humanity of Jewish victims. This isn't merely legitimate criticism of an Israeli government's policies. It frequently crosses into classic anti-Semitic demonizing the Jewish people collectively, questioning their very right to self-determination and holding Israel to a different moral standard or political standard than any other nation. This narrative, in my view, often covers up uncomfortable truths that foster animosity towards Jewish people and the Jewish state. Now consider the double whammy here. This anti-hatred sentiment is often intertwined with a logical opposition with figures like Donald Trump. For example, regarding Iran, a regime that has vowed to wipe Israel off the map, sponsors global terrorism, and brutally suppresses its own people. For decades, both Republicans and Democrats agreed on the imperative to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. Iran is direct neighbor to Israel and capable of hitting the cities right away with these missiles that were all pointed to them. Potentially, they could get to Europe if they decided, and they were about to do that, apparently, and to the United States. It's baffling to see how anti-Trump bias can lead to criticizing actions that actually counter Iran's nuclear factory. It's like shooting oneself in the foot. This illogical opposition to Trump simply because it's Trump extends to defending Iran or undermining Israel's defense, even when it puts the entire world at risk from nuclear proliferation and terrorism. The idea that why should we fight for Israel it's not our problem, often expressed with isolationist rhetoric, a stark reversal of the Woodstock type. Oh, my dog is barking. Anti-war sentiment is pure craziness. It's Israel standing largely alone defending the world against terrorism and a proven nuclear weapon threat. The profound hatred for Trump, it seems, can somehow overshadow even the most existential threats posed by the regimes like the Ayatollahs, who destroy their own people and vow death to America, who hate women, who brutalize the people, and the people are so thankful to Israel and Trump for helping them. Okay, nobody seems to talk about that, and when I put up posts about it, it gets taken down. Okay, so anyway, this is a long speech. I think what I'm going to do, I mean, for me to get to the point I want to say is that what's going on today is we're banalizing violence in order, and we're justifying it, and what can happen is it's just going to get worse, and it's not okay. Door. It's not somebody's at the door. Hold on a second. Well, I'm going to go answer the door. I'm going to take you through my house, like on a regular telephone call. I don't know if anybody's out there. That's okay. I hope that, I'll break this video down into pieces and then put it back up on so that people can see the different points. Or maybe I'll do this again and, because it's been so long that I haven't been able to articulate what it is that I have to say. And it's a lonely thing. Alors, and the clown always says truth. Je suis, bonjour, bonsoir, rentrez. Je suis avec l'univers en live.
Okay.
Ouais. Viens, mon chien, viens. Oh, it's nice outside. I should go outside. Oh, yeah. Well, guys, it's been great. I don't know if you I don't know who's there, but whatever it was that we were able to share, that you were able to capture from this experience of this live, that I haven't done one for so long. And you might be saying, why is this clown talking about these things? It's so serious, and she's supposed to be making people laugh. But in order to make people laugh, you need to be able to understand what's going on. And I think that clown is about the truth. And I think it's about being able to, wake people up with all kinds of truth. Daily truths about being a woman, truth about how we feel